Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Midday News on Global TV. We're live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Jumai Manson. Now the news info. Seeking to blast its global standing, Nigeria urged the United States to back its ambitions for membership in the G20 and non-permanent seat on the United Nations Secretary General. President Bola Tinubu personally raised a request during a bilateral meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Bilkin in the Nigerian capital. Foreign Minister Yusuf Tuggar emphasized the rationale behind Nigeria's aspirations, citing its positions as Africa's largest economy and the continent's frequent focus on the UNSC agenda. Tuggar argued that Nigeria deserves a seat at the global decision-making table. Still, United States Secretary of State Anthony Bilkin on Tuesday said the U.S. would provide an additional $45 million to West African nations as part of a plan to battle instability, bringing total funding under the year-old program to nearly $300 million. In a four-nation tour of African democracies, Bilkin met separately with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara. The trip was to discuss the U.S.-African partnerships over trade, climate, infrastructure, health security, and other issues. It follows a summit in Washington with African leader in December 2022. Bilkin sought progress combating coup and extremism in West Africa in talks with two key leaders as he pointed to Ivory Coast as a model. The federal government has said that more than 26,800 annual deaths in Nigeria have been attributed to tobacco-related diseases, even as 4.5 million Nigerians aged 15 and above are tobacco users. This was contained in a statement by the acting executive vice chairman, Federal Competitive Consumer Protection Consumer, FCCPC, Adamu Abdullahi, at the formal launch of his tobacco control advocacy tagged "Don't Burn Their Future." Abdullahi said the initiative addresses the alarming rise in young and underage access to tobacco products. He added that the move also aimed to curb the detrimental impact on society. Abdullahi emphasized the dynamic nature of sound health, which encompasses physical, mental, social well-being. The campaign, although scores the collective responsibility of individuals, communities, and prioritize healthcare system in fostering a healthier future for the youth. The federal government has revealed that the student loan scheme it recently initiated would be funded from education tax in collaboration with the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS. FIRS Chairman Zoch Adedeji spoke with Briefing Newsmen along with Executive Secretary of the Student Loan Board, Dr. Akintunde Sawyer, at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. He stated that the introduction of the Education Tax Fund into the scheme is one way the government could be accountable to taxpayers. So he assured that the process for applying for the loan would be devoid of human intervention, as every action will be taken on an app specifically designed for the purpose, according to him. The government is keen at ensuring that young Nigerians do not fall to acquire tertiary education on account of lack of funds to pursue their studies. He explained that the implementation of the loan scheme will enable Nigerians to pick a career trajectory of their choice rather than being forced to do something else because they are unable to acquire requisite education due to lack of funds. So he affirmed that the facility would also stem the dangerous journey undertaken by Nigerian youth across the Sahel to Europe in search for a better life. Civil rights advocacy group Human Rights Association of Nigeria has strongly rejected recent calls for the suspension of the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) and instead advocated for enhanced security measures and increasing funding. Comrade Emmanuel Omobiko, the national coordinator of HURIWA, at a press conference in Abuja Tuesday, emphasized the NYSC's integral role in shaping national identity, fostering unity, and empowering the youth over its 5-decade history. Haruwa categorically rejected the proposition to suspend the NYSC, highlighting its enduring mission to bridge ethnic and cultural gaps among Nigerian youths. He expressed concern that suspending the NYSC would undermine those fundamental principles and deprive the nation of a vital institution. Aweboko acknowledged the prevailing security challenges in the country but emphasized that the NYSC is a victim and not the root cause. The rights group called on the government to implement comprehensive security measures that will safeguard all citizens, including NYSC members. Over now to the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike says the federal government is working to improve the nation's economy with a view to addressing poverty, one of the drivers of insecurity. Wike, who stated this during a media interaction in Abuja, explained that poverty and economy were two sides of a coin, just as poverty and criminality were connected. He explained that the federal government, through its subsidy removal and other economic policies, was working hard to improve the country's economy, which had been in a terrible state for a very long time. He urged Nigerians to wait patiently, adding that the measures would, in the long run, improve the economy as a practical solution to poverty reduction. While acknowledging the contribution of poverty to the raising insecurity in FCT and the country, the minister stressed that poverty was not peculiar to FCT alone. And now in a related development, the FCT administration has concluded plans to strengthen collaboration with the 4 neighboring states and territory to tackle cross-border crimes. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, made this known while addressing newsmen in Abuja. Wike pointed out that the FCTA would not succeed in curbing the tide of insecurity without the collaboration of the neighboring states. He identified the states as Kogi, Nasarawa, Niger, and Kaduna, stressing that criminals from Niger and Kaduna constitute the major challenge to FCT. He explained that the coalition was to serve as a platform to support one another and reduce the level of insecurity. Meanwhile, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, says residents of the territory will get positive news within days with regards to effort being made to tackle insecurity in the FCT. The minister directed the chairman of the 6 area councils in the territory to strengthen and motivate local vigilante groups as part of measures to reinforce community policing. Wike also asked the council to procure more motorcycles for the vigilante groups to enable them to navigate difficult terrain while supporting security agencies. He said that the FCT administration will soon conclude the procurement processes for more operational vehicles to support security agencies in the discharge of their responsibilities. On infrastructure, the minister promised to construct 2 roads in each of the 6 area councils, in addition to the ones being constructed. And now the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has expressed concerns about the threats of violence by partisans ahead of the February 3rd by-elections and rerun. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu also spoke at a meeting of Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, ICCES, on Tuesday in Abuja, said, from experience, the conduct of isolated elections such as by-elections and rerun elections can be very challenging. Noting that election is a multi-stakeholder responsibility, Yakubu said security agencies have the responsibility of securing the environment to enable INEC deploy personnel and material, the protection of observers, the media, as well as the polling and coalition agents representing the political parties and candidates. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arrested 24 suspects allegedly undergoing tutelage as internet scammers in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State capital. EFCC spokesperson Dele Oyewale said the suspects were arrested Monday following an intelligence report at a story building suspected to be a hideout for training internet fraudsters at the Ewet Housing Estate and Nelson Mandela, respectively. Oyewale stated that the all-male suspects were arrested in 2 locations in an intelligence-driven site operation at the Line Ewet Housing Estate and Nelson Mandela area, both in Uyo. Items recovered from the premises and suspects include 5 exotic cars, 18 laptops, 17 mobile phones, and 1 internet router. The Inspector General of Police, Olukayode Egbetokun, has ordered the posting of 54 Assistant Commissioners of Police to head the Force Intelligence Department at zonal and state command level nationwide. This development is coming following the recent surge in kidnapping and banditry across the country, especially in Abuja and Kaduna State. Over 69 persons were killed and 152 abducted during a 194 attack carried out by bandits and other criminals in the FCT in 2022. According to the data source from media reports and the lending indigenous intelligence outfit Beacon Consulting, the Force Police Public Relations Officer ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, in a statement on Tuesday, said this was in furtherance of the upscaling of the intelligence department of the Nigerian police force. Nigeria has reiterated its stance in the 2-state solution to the crisis between the Palestinians and Israel. Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Tuggar said this at the end of the bilateral talks with U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken in Abuja. He said Nigeria would, however, continue to stand on issues of common interest with developing partners in resolving the crisis in the Middle East. Responding, Bilkin said America would continue to move towards a lasting solution to the crisis, adding that measures must be taken to have lasting peace. Bilkin was in Nigeria on an African nations tour to strengthen bilateral relations with a focus on security, the economy, and humanitarian concerns. Plateau State Governor Caleb Mufwang has declared a 24-hour curfew on Mangu local government area of the state with immediate effect. The development was confirmed in a statement issued on Tuesday by the governor's Director of Press and Public Affairs, Gang Barre. He stated that only persons on essential duties are allowed to move within the local government area until further notice. He urged all citizens, especially residents of Mangu local government area, to comply with the directive and assist the security personnel by providing reliable information to restore peace and order in the state. He lamented that some people are still determined to create an atmosphere of insecurity in the state despite the government effort to end the activities of terrorist elements. He said the decision followed the deteriorating security situations in the country. Gunmen in the early hours of Wednesday defied the 24-hour curfew imposed by the Plateau State government to attack Kotolakek and the surrounding communities, killing no fewer than 25 persons and burning some properties too. However, security personnel said Mangu town is calm, but were called in the early hours on Wednesday about the developments about the communities close to the NYSC camp, but the deed has been done. The victims are mostly women and children who ran to hide there because they thought the place was far and the attackers wouldn't go there. But the attackers were conveyed in a vehicle and dropped there before they attacked. The immediate past governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, has arrived at the Abuja division of the Federal High Court. The FCC arraigned him on Wednesday over an alleged money laundering to the tune of 4,573,350 naira. When the charges were read to him upon his arraignment on Wednesday, the former governor pleaded not guilty to all the 9 counts. In a related development, Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court in Abuja has granted bail to the immediate past governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano. He ordered that the former governor should be restricted to the court jurisdiction. He ordered the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to deposit the defendant's travel documents with the court registrar. Ekwo then ordered the registrar to notify the Nigerian Immigration Service of the development. The prosecution counsel, Savannah Tahir San, had prayed the court to remand the former governor. He subsequently adjourned the case to March 4th, 5th, and 6th and 7th to continuation of trial. The governor of Ondo State, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, has dissolved the State Executive Council. The governor also relieved all senior special assistants and special assistants of their duties. In a statement by his chief press secretary, Ebenezer Adenion, on Wednesday, the governor said the development would take immediate effect. All the affected officials are directed to hand over all government properties in their possession. The governor thanked the affected officials for their service and contributions to the development of the state. And you're watching Midday News coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using at Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. When Midday News return, federal government to sell 5 power plants for $1 billion. The news continues shortly with details and more stories right after this break. Do stay with us. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, you're watching Global Television, bringing you live broadcasts of Midday News. Thank you for staying with us. Over now to the federal government has authorized the relocation of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAAN, from Abuja to Lagos. FAAN has stated that its relocation to Lagos is the best interest of the country. Admitting that relocation wasn't an overnight decision, but was made after wide consultations by the new management with stakeholders, which also involved the unions. In a statement, it pointed out some of the reasons behind this move, stating that it is the best interest of the authority and the country in general. The airport regulatory agency said those affected by the decision to move the headquarters to Abuja have since returned to Lagos, and there is no office space for them in Abuja. And on our foreign index, overnight Russian missile attacks across Ukraine, including the capital Kyiv and second city Kharkiv, has killed 3 people and injured dozens. Regional officials made this known on Tuesday. Sounds of air raid sirens echo over the capital at night, followed by a series of loud blasts, likely from an air defense system responding to the Russian targets. Ukraine's army chief Valery Zelensky said on social media that Russian forces had fired 41 missiles, including cruise and ballistic missiles, and that his force had drowned 21. The worst hit city was Kharkiv, lying just next to the Russian border, where the major said 2 people had died and nearly 40 injured. China said it would next month cut the amount banks must hold in reserve to boost lending. Decision comes as the world's second largest economy faces multiple headwinds, including a prolonged crisis in the property sector, sluggish domestic consumption, and weakening foreign demand. People's Bank of China Governor Pan Gongshang said at a press conference of the State Council Information Office on January 24th that the reserve requirement ratio RRI will be lowered by 0.5 percentage points on February 5th. China last cut its RRR in September, lowering by 0.25 percentage points to around 7.4%. The central bank's governor stated that more policies to offer support for the country's struggling property sector will be announced tomorrow. Israel said 24 soldiers were killed in the biggest single-day losses since the start of its ground war in Gaza amid growing pressure on the government to find a way to end the conflict. The heavy clashes came as a White House official was due in the region for talks amid securing more hostage release, and as U.S. media reported a new Israeli proposal for a deal that will involve a 2-month phase in fighting. 24 soldiers were killed on Monday, with the army saying 21 of them were reservists slain when rocket-propelled grenade fired hit a tank and 2 buildings they were staying to blew up. More than 200 people attended the funeral of one of the reservists, Hadar Kapalik, whose coffin was trapped in an Israeli flag at Mount Hezel Military Cemetery in Jerusalem. Let's turn to business. Oil marketers under the aegis of Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria have arrested the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited for alleged delay in the supply of petroleum products. As a result, the marketers said they have been forced to boycott the NNPCL to source fuel from private depot owners at a higher cost. According to him, independent marketers own 80% of the filling stations in Nigeria and as such deserve the lion's share in the fuel allocation. He narrated that marketers usually pay through the NNPCL ported with the hope of getting the product in 2-3 days. But that 2-3 days will turn into months if NNPCL don't have products or are out of stock. The federal government, through the Bureau of Public Enterprise, BPE, is currently carrying out transactions for the sale of 5 power plants under the National Integrated Power Project at a cost of about $1.15 billion. Although sources familiar with the development explained that the cost of the plans should exceed $5 billion based on international benchmark, they revealed that the BPE was planning to sell the facilities at a price that is little above $1.1 billion. The acting director general, BPE, Ignatius Owewo, stated that the transaction is ongoing, adding that it is not concluded. The 5 power plants to include the 434 megawatts gas-fired Garago 2 plant located at Kogi, 451 M. in Calabar, Cross River State,